Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Power 365 show. Today we have Audrie Gordon. She's a PM and is part of the Power Automate team. So, you know, the artist formerly known as Flow, of course, is now Power Automate. This is a great interview in that I learned a heap. I learned a heap about, you know, a pathway to MVP. We kind of covered in community engagement. We also learned so much about the direction of where Power Automate is going, the UI flows, attended, unattended, etc. And really some gaps in the content creation opportunities out there around things like other APIs interfacing with Flow and a range of things. I'll let you listen and draw your own conclusions. Remember, full show notes for this episode will be found at nz365guy.com/156. Now let's get on with the show. Audrie, welcome to the Power 365 show.
Well, it's so good to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Excellent. So you've just come off a massive, intense period of time, I suppose, prepping for Ignite, and then Ignite's done. You're back at the office, so to speak. What's it been like unpacking, you know, the entire experience, the questions, all that type of thing in the last couple of weeks?
Wow, it's been crazy. First of all, I was like blown away at how much interest we had at Ignite. Our booths were like nonstop. People were coming to me even like when I wasn't at the booth with more questions. And so, you know, we handle as much as we can during the event, but of course we go home with a bunch of follow-up. And so we kind of spend this week coming back, triaging the feedback that we got, you know, answering some emails for people who had questions that we needed to follow up on. I also kind of set up a couple of Teams events to help people who are vetting, you know, what are they going to use Power Automate for. And so it's just been busy, you know, plus I've got the pile of email that's been waiting that I'm trying to catch up on. And we're releasing things that were announced, you know, right now as well. So it's been a wonderful period of craziness.
I bet. Before we start unpacking, you know, the whole story, just give us a bit of background. Where are you from? What do you do when you're kind of not working? What does your life look like outside of the Microsoft part of it?
Okay, that's a great question. So I'm from nowhere and everywhere because I'm a military brat. So we move around a lot, right? So my dad was in the Navy, his dad was in the Army, and it just goes back. And a lot of moving. I've lived in 5 countries. When I came here, I came from the East Coast. And I really missed the East Coast for like Broadway and stuff because I lived in New York most of my adult life. But then I ended up coming here actually for a different reason, to serve another company very popular in Seattle, and ended up transitioning to Microsoft because I love it so much. My background is as a partner at Microsoft. I've been a partner for many years and a consultant. Started out mostly in online services like SharePoint, and then did a bunch of Exchange migrations and, you know, helping people move from on-prem to the cloud. And then I discovered the Power platform and fell instantly in love. And it's because like it seems like to me it's a collaboration of everything I used to do. So InfoPath plus ASP.NET applications and forms. I think of like Acrobat. I started out as an Acrobat designer way back in the day. Yeah. So lots of business apps and forms. And all of the tools that I had seemed to be showing up in this Power platform, but easier. Like you just pick the connector and go. And I was just blown away by the ease of use, that I could just build these solutions a lot faster for SharePoint and for different data sources. I fell in love and started out with PowerApps, and now I'm in Power Automate. But I love them both.
So you know, you touched on InfoPath there. Is this the logical progression for anybody that has a massive InfoPath kind of dependency to you know, get off that? And you know, I mean, the biggest thing I found with InfoPath, it wasn't designed for mobile, right, at all. There's no concept of that. In a business, we find these days so many people are using mobile devices to fill out, request forms. I need a new mobile phone from IT or a new laptop or something. And they required a desktop, and so many people not on desktops anymore.
Yeah, the way I would answer your question is that's the right thing for an InfoPath designer to move to this Power Platform. I will definitely say yes. And I'll say yes because times have changed. It's not just a mobile thing, but people are demanding an experience. They don't want to just look at boxes and black text on a screen. They want to have an experience, and they want that experience to be multi useful, like not just solving one problem, but maybe I can fill out this form and it'll be distributed to multiple purposes. So I get to repurpose data. And so people want better experiences and they want them faster. And so the Power Platform handles that. I mean, I spent 10 years building InfoPath forms. There's nothing that I could do in InfoPath that I can't do in PowerApps. And better. I mean, that's like the experience is unbelievable. The difference between what I can present to my user in an InfoPath form and what I can present in a Power App. It's ugobs apart, And one day we have to do a podcast where we just talk about InfoPath to Power Apps because I have so many reasons why, yes, you most definitely need to make that.
Okay, give me at least 3 and we'll use it as an appetite whetter for another episode.
Sure. First reason, increase your scope, right? InfoPath, what was the scope? For the most part, it was SharePoint, right? That was it. That was what it was for. And if you wanted anything else, you had to write code behind, which is not cloud friendly. So that takes me to the second reason. It's cloud friendly. You don't have to worry about managing any solutions or sandboxes or anything like that, or being shut off by Microsoft because you have assemblies that are not necessary anymore, right? So that's 2. And then thirdly, you want to give that experience to your customer that does not just focus on one thing. You want to be able to broaden what people can do in a single action. So yesterday, I would do one form and that would solve one purpose. Today, I can do one form and solve 3 problems at the same time, right? Think of onboarding. I can fill out a new employee form. Part of it goes to security to get me a badge. Part of it goes to facilities and gets me an office. Another part of it goes to the IT group that gives me my assets. But that one form handled all 3 of those purposes, right?
Yeah. So good. I definitely think we should do an episode on that. Tell me, how did you land in your role now within the Power Platform team?
So this is my passion for making things easier for people. So when I first started in Microsoft as a full-time employee, I started as a community person. And so my goal was to get people excited about the product, get them supported, make sure that there was lots of things around them, a community, a social media presence, so that they could get help. So nobody's on their own with this, right? But I was dreaming and striving to get more technical. How can I provide technical solutions to make these things easier to use? And so I always have had a respect for the leader of the Power Automate team. He's highly technical and extremely, broad in his thinking for what's a product. And so I asked him, would you be willing for us to work together and kind of move me away from community and more into being a feature-driven PM? And he said, yeah, let's give it a go. We did a little loop. Nobody disagreed. And so now I'm really happy I'm in this group and I'm actually being able to drive change into the product, which is huge for me.
Nice.
Yeah, it's huge for me.
So good. Listen, I just want to unpack that community element that you had there for a while. And I want to take it from the perspective of there's a bunch of people that'll be listening to this and they're involved in the community. And, I know we're going to touch on towards the end a bit about your YouTube experience. But how can people out in the community, how can they create massive value as a community member under the auspices of the Power Platform?
Yeah, and I kind of see that as a progressive thing. Like to me, you start out, you're in the forums, for instance, in our community, you're in the forums and you take a little chance and answer a question, right? See how it goes. Usually people will give you kudos, they'll like your answer. So you start by answering questions in the forums, and then you start being recognized. You'll notice that we have like a leader, like a reader scale where you can see the ranking of people who are helping. You get known. We have some very popular forum contributors, and they get known for that. They get nominated as super users or power users, and they actually get additional support from us because they're contributing to the community. From there, they usually move on to blogging. Like they'll start writing community blogs. And again, now there's going to be more of an impact on what they're doing because people are reading those blogs and trying out what they're saying. They're not just waiting to like give an answer, but they're actually provoking change. Try this new thing. So they're innovating, and this gives people ideas. Now, from doing blogs, they go to the next step where they start interacting with us. So maybe they join a champions program, or maybe they start a user group in their own community where they help people in their own communities leverage these products. Some people like to start within their company. These are usually our champions, and they'll just open up a user group in their company and start, motivating people. Hey, try this. This is what I learned from Microsoft. Here's what I tried. It's all working. And if they can facilitate that within their company, they can grow the business usage and trap lessons learned and best practices, right? Because they need visibility to what people are doing, and those user groups will give that, right? And then I think it goes to the next step, which is probably the next two, which is now you're speaking with us on platforms. Maybe you're speaking with us at conferences, or you even have your own conference call to action where you come and you become a trusted advisor in this product, which usually leads to becoming an MVP, right? Or a Microsoft partner. And this is to me where, it all ends up with you're really part of our team at that point, right? And so you started out answering a question or two, and now you are a trusted advisor that's respected worldwide for which you can contribute. And there's no better feeling than the feeling of being able to help the world. And MVPs and partners, they are helping the world, every country that is using our products, What a privilege, what a privilege.
Do you know that just on what you've just said there, I could quite easily end the podcast and go, mate, I have learned so much already. That was just phenomenal. What you talked about there, that journey, forums, get familiar with Q&A, moving on to blogging, start, unpacking, adding value, invoking change. Then you move down to interactions with the Microsoft product team. You're probably going to start a local user group in your area, or if you're in a company, you're going to start your champions program. That's going to flow in. You're going to be elevated to the level of trusted advisor if you're creating that value, which then tracks into MVP or Microsoft partner type roles. Which
yes, it just opens a ton of doors. Like
I love it. I happen to do a YouTube series. I think I'm up to 30 episodes now just on how to become an MVP. And I'm going to dedicate an episode just to you here around that process that you just said, because I think that is a brilliant articulated process that anybody in the community can learn a heap from and apply, and it's practical, it's step by step, it's a journey, it's great.
Yes, and you're never on your own. Understand that every step of that way, you've got partners, you've got people around you. So, and I've always told people, this Power Platform thing is different from any other product that Microsoft has ever done because it's a highly inclusive product. It gets those different roles, business people, IT people, developers, all talking together in the same room and excited about the same things. But it opens doors for people who in the past have been waiting on others to act. And now it enables them to just go act, go get it done. Let's make it happen. And they're becoming so popular for it. It's like it's changing their lives.
Okay. So let's unpack your day-to-day role. What's your title within Microsoft, and what does your day-to-day, or if that's too down in the details, what is a month-by-month type activities that you're kind of driving towards, a change you're bringing about, and owning a set of features?
So interesting thing about that is, we are making some changes in my role, but for the most part, I'm a senior program manager. And as a senior program manager, we get areas of focus. So each program manager on each product team, they sign up to a certain area of focus. For instance, I love integrations. And so you'll see me doing a bunch of stuff for Teams, for SharePoint, for Power BI, because the integrations are what makes us powerful. You can find the Power Platform wherever you are. So I have to date been focused on how do we improve our integrations with our first party partners, which is Microsoft partners, right? And this, believe it or not, includes the partners within the platform. So Flow has to work well with PowerApps. Flow has to work well with Power BI. And so I have conversations with the PMs in those teams as well who have their areas of focus. And then what we need to do is we work together to decide, let's take all the information that we get, and believe it or not, oh my goodness, we get a lot of information. We get information from the customer, from the ideas forum, from our user research, from our design team. There is information coming in from all areas. And for me, the priority is what is going to help our users leverage these products easiest, so that they can just hit the ground running with them, right? So I have a heavy focus also on the coherence between the products, because most makers don't just use one product. They're using all three. So how can we help them, learn from one that they can use in the other, that kind of thing. And then we have to triage. I guess the biggest responsibility of a program manager at Microsoft is to be able to know when to do what, right? Because we want to do everything. So if I had a magic wand, I would have all the ideas in the forum agreed, accepted, and done. And so that's the big responsibility of the PM. Then we have we're working constantly with our developers who actually make this stuff happen. And I think we don't praise them enough, but none of this stuff would happen if we didn't have this awesome developer workforce around us. And so we enjoy working with them and, showcasing what we're capable of doing as a result of that partnership. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Is your main focus area then Power Automate and everything around Power Automate? Would that be right?
I'll say yes. Yes.
You'd say yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you talked about integration to other things, and whether it be partner products and things like that. Are things such as, Office 365, and I'm meaning not SharePoint and stuff, which we've known for a while, but things like Outlook. Is Outlook going to become Flow aware? Is even, let's say, PowerPoint? I don't know the application, but I can understand it with Excel. What are your thoughts there?
So basically, you see connectors for Outlook. You see a connector for Word, helping you populate Word templates. You definitely see quite a bit of Office in Flow. Excel is a big player. It's one of our top used connectors. But as we go down this path, the goal is that you find this product and its value wherever you are. So as we move into the future, we're going to be expanding our reach. And that's not just first party, that's also other software as a service that's out there that people are using, that people need. So because our goal or our priority is that you find the value where you are and that you'll be able to leverage it from there, right? And so I think you'll notice many more integrations into Office 365, Dynamics 365, Azure resources, and other cloud services that will give our businesses better outcomes. Because more than the technology, we want to make sure that people actually get value from using this. And today, people are all over the place. They're not just in one product.
Yeah, so true, so true. What I'd be interested in doing here is unpacking how you go about building flows in Power Automate. Like, what's your process? And actually, what I'll do is I'll give you an example. And of course, we're not going to drill into the details of it, but I want to understand your thinking, how you would go about it. So let's say I have 4 Office 365 Outlook addresses. In other words, I consult to 4 different companies. They've all issued me a license for their Outlook. I've got 4 different email addresses. But I need a master calendar. And I want, when people book appointments with me in one, I want it to go to my master O365 calendar or the main calendar I use. If you were unpacking that, what would the kind of thinking you would go through to build out a flow that may be able to address that scenario?
Yeah, and so there's 2 sides of my brain moving at the same time right now. So there's one part of me that is like, that's not a problem. If you have the ability to connect to a service, so let's say you have Outlook, right? That's one connector. Outlook allows you to connect with each of those accounts, right? So you can definitely set up a situation where somehow you're triggering a calendar event being created or shared from any or all of those outlets. But to tell you the other side of my brain, which kicked in first, was I got a few red flags. So red flag number one is I need to also know what the data loss prevention policy is of the companies that I'm working with, right? I will find out rather quickly when I start trying to do stuff and I get little yellow messages that say, sorry, you can't do that. But I think the first thing I want to do is investigate, am I infringing on any corporate policies by trying to transfer data between different tenants, okay? Because some companies like to keep tenant data within the tenant. So that might be a question I would ask my project owner or my product, whoever's asking for this, right? Second thing I want to think about is, you know what, I'm not going to lie. I thought right away of bookings. I don't know if you know about this Office 365 product, but there's a product that does this out of the box. So in a way, my mind said, I'm wondering why they didn't try bookings. Should I bring up bookings? Because it just works, right? You don't have to do any flow or anything else. And then the third thing I want to think about is, where are we going to publish that calendar? So maybe we could use PowerApps portal to publish it so that anyone could see it that we decide needs to see it. But I want to think about security. Who shouldn't see this? And after I kind of have those questions answered, the building of the flow is actually easy. I would start with whatever I want to trigger it. So that's a question you have to ask. What do I want to trigger this event? And the situation with 4 emails is you can only really have one trigger in a flow.
Yeah. And so, in that scenario, it'd be that if somebody requests an appointment with me in any email from any of those email addresses, that would automatically update a central calendar. No one would be allowed to see it. I just want to make sure that I'm never double booking myself.
Gotcha. So the trigger is the email receipt, right? And that's fine, but you might want to plan what's going to be the identifier that makes this email different from another one. So maybe I'll have my people who are setting up meetings with me, maybe they would prefix the subject with meeting request or something. Because now in Flow, when I add the trigger for the email, now I can open up the advanced option and say only when the subject starts with this. This way, we don't trigger flows unnecessarily. It's focused on your business scenario. And after I've got that trigger configured so that it is recognizing the emails coming in as part of an event creation process, then I would add the calendar, right? The Outlook calendar, and now I would create that event. Now, I need some type of tagging in that email to let me know when this event is and what time and so forth. So there might be some configuration of a template-like process to create that event.
So with all the recent announcements at Ignite around Power Automate, what most excites you and what do you see the possibilities?
Well, one of the things I was most excited about is the new UI flows. And the reason is because until that announcement, basically, if you're working in the Power Platform, you needed a REST API behind you somewhere, right? So all those connectors that we have, what they're really doing is opening up a bridge between you and a REST API. So you're sending requests to an API. And if you didn't have a REST API, you couldn't really leverage these services. Well, now that's old news. All right, because UI flows enable you to capture data from applications that do not have a REST API. And this is really huge because for 2 reasons that I think of. Reason number 1, now I can automate processes based on the applications that my business is using, whether they have a REST API or not. And 2, I can take data that has historically been stuck on-prem, and I can transfer it to the cloud where there's many more services I can leverage with that, including additional analytical services that I could not achieve prior to this capability. So it's like we closed a gap. So now Power Automate covers everyone. Like whether you have a REST API or you have an application that was made in 1910, we got you.
Yeah. So tell us about unattended UI flows.
So it's the opposite of attended. So right now, when you're in preview, you're doing attended, which means that while I'm recording and while this is playing back, your computer is now, it's ours. Leave it alone. And that gets things done. But when you want to scale UI flows, you're probably going to think about unattended, where the computers do not have to be dedicated to the service for UI flows. Now you can do some things that are unattended, or maybe a better way to say this is it doesn't take over the computer, right? So that you can work in the back end. So I think as we grow it, because we have a lot of plans. I mean, we have only just begun to add value in this area. We have so much we're headed toward, but I think unattended is going to be a key expectation from our users. As I spoke to people at Ignite, this is kind of what I picked up, and our team is 100% on board with that and ready to work hard to get that as soon as possible out there.
Do you see any type of industries really that will latch onto this sooner than others? Do you think there's going to be like an early adoption from a particular industry type? I mean, in my mind, banking comes to mind, that, and anything in the financial sector, which is still often sweating some very old assets that have no concept of APIs and things like that. What are you seeing?
So I know personally what I've been speaking with is a lot of people that are in healthcare. Some of the applications haven't been, migrated or even worked on for many, many years. Manufacturing, where some of those are handmade applications. So in other words, they weren't even bought; they were handmade, right? So they want to use those. And then, like you said, finance, I think will latch on to this. And it was interesting that I found a scenario that I thought was rather strange, but it's really popular. There's a old version of Excel called XLS, and then it went to XLS, XS. Oh, get these abbreviations. Some people want to make that conversion automatically, and it's not a simple thing. You would think it's a simple thing, but there are features in the XLS that don't exist in the other one, and vice versa. So with UI Flows, Ash, who is the PM that's kind of working with UI Flows as a lead, he actually did a great demo of how we could just open up and make this change so that the XLS could be an XLSX. I can't, these abbreviations are hard for me. But a simple thing like that, and if you go online and just Bing it or Google it, you'll see how many people want to do that simple action. I just want to make all of my XLS. I want them to be this, or I want that to be this. And I was surprised a simple thing like that could have an impact, and it does.
What are some of the things that there's obviously some limitations. A V1 product with a lot of this new, the robotic, what's it called? Robotic...
process automation.
Yeah.
Robotic process automation.
Yeah. So this is V1 for us. It's interesting because I was speaking with Steven Siciliano maybe a year ago, and he actually used this terminology, and it came back to mind when, this all got announced. So it's obviously been on the radar for a while. This is V1. What's your future, if you were dreaming, looking at a crystal ball type thing, what would you like to see happen potentially over time?
I'd like to see us meet the needs of our customers, whether they be citizen developers or programmers. I'd like for this product to serve both audiences. I can't really predict what that's going to be because that's why we put products in preview. We put them in preview so that customers can say, hey, here's what you're missing, or hey, here's what I love or hate. So I can't predict too far in the future on this, but I can say our number one objective is to meet the needs of the business. Whatever it is they're using. Again, you hear me keep repeating, we want you to find this value wherever you are.
Yeah. What's the best way for folks to feed back to, to get it through to the product team where they think, it'd be awesome to see this feature or awesome to see that feature, or we could see a use case by doing, if it had X or Y or Z. Where should they give that feedback that will get traction with you guys?
Okay. And I'm going to give you the biggest tip possible. Every time you're working in Power Automate, every time, and no matter what page you're on, if you look up to the top right, as long as you're not building a flow, but you're in the flow Power Automate environment, at the top right where you see your name, there is also a question mark. That question mark is the bridge to everything, including feedback. So if you click that question mark, you'll see documentation, learning modules, community. And then if you go down a little bit further, you'll see the roadmap. So you can see what are we heading towards, next 6 months. And then you'll see give feedback. Please use give feedback. Anytime you have an idea, and here's what, I don't mind it when people email me and give me ideas, but when it comes to my email, that's where it sits. And we hope Audrey opens her email and reads it, right? Even though she's really bad with getting to all our email. But when it gets to that idea form, what happens is other people vote on it. And so we're looking at those top voted items when we're triaging, and we're considering those items for our next releases, often based on how popular they are, right? And so get your idea out there and invite all your friends to vote on it. And then this will help, get it prioritized with the product teams. And I think that's the case for any product community. So it's the best way to make your voice heard. But then there's all these other mechanisms, like, reaching out to the community, all these power users in the communities or super users, they're always there to help as well. There's a lot of people, social media, you can just, I'll just tell you, my Twitter alias is Artsy Power Apper, and you can ping me there and say your idea. But I really think the best way is to hit that question mark in Flow, click on give feedback, and put your thought in there. You could do a search first because your thought might be there already, and then you can just go vote on it. When you put your idea, my biggest suggestion though is give a little bit of business justification, right? So just a little bit. Don't assume we know what you're thinking, because we need your perspective. That's what we need, and it's your perspective that helps us prioritize this, not ours. Right? So justify your ask in some way with a business scenario or something, which will help us get a clear understanding of why that's a priority.
Yeah. So now just my mind going off, like I didn't realize that under that question mark was that give feedback. Could we assume that that's available under Power Apps, that's available under Power Automate, that's available under Power BI, and that's available under virtual agents, Power Virtual Agents? I assume that theoretically that methodology
should be there everywhere. Yes.
With that,
I think Power BI is slightly different, but Power Apps and Power Automate work on that same model, and you will find that question mark on the top right. Now, in Power BI, if you don't see the question mark, just hit the 3 dots on the top right, and you'll have the mechanism for giving feedback.
I love it. So if you're listening to this, as soon as you get to your computer or whatever device you use to create flows, jump in there, take a look at the feedbacks already submitted, see if you want to upvote them and or add your own, because it's a great way to give that feedback right into the team.
And we love it.
Yeah.
We love it. We're watching it.
Yeah, I noticed that in some of the, release notes, they often give shout out to various people if a feature that they've given, feedback on or provided, they'll get their name recognition in the release notes.
There is nothing we enjoy more than giving recognition to advocates who are making us drive better experiences, right? So as they share feedback with us, we incorporate that feedback in our discussions at Microsoft. When we're at a conference room, we're sharing that feedback, we're discussing it, and this results in a better product. So yes, we amplify those people. I will amplify them. We have given rewards, like literal physical rewards. I think last Christmas or the year before, I gave out an Odyssey and an Xbox. So we really do appreciate advocates out there that help us, that partner with us to show us how we can make the products better.
So good. Let's just, I'm going to jump ahead and talk about resources. Where's the number one places people can, either if they're starting out or wanting to get on the journey of using a lot of these new features, where should they be? Where should they be going? Where should they be engaging?
Okay, just a tiny prefix. I will give you a list of the top 5 that you can add in the notes of the podcast. But here's my favorite one. Go to Bing or Google or whatever else your favorite search engine is and type learning resources for Power Apps and Flow. Type it just like that as a title with spaces in between. And you will probably see in the first 2 results that exact sentence. That blog, it's a blog on, we have a blog in Power Apps and we have a blog in Power Automate, the same blog kind of sharing learning resources. You click on it and it gives you such a beautiful list because it starts out with, here are the places you can go if you're brand new. Like, how do I get started? Like, I don't even know what to click on first. It has that. But it also has a section saying, what if I'm an admin? Maybe I don't even want to learn how to do a flow. I just want to handle security. It's a section for that. Or maybe you're a developer. So the page is divided into like different types of persona focus areas. And then at the bottom, I really love it actually has customer stories. And what the customer stories do is they give you a realistic view of what's possible because you can see what huge companies are doing with Power Automate and Power Apps and kind of give yourself some ideas of, what you might be able to get started doing in your enterprise.
So good. Before we jump into, I want to drill into your experiences with YouTube because it's a topic I'm interested in and a lot of people are. Tell me about, is there anything else top of mind that you'd want to share about Power Automate at the moment?
It's something, like I regularly do my YouTube videos. I used to do one a week when I was in community, but I will say you have a little bit more bandwidth for building videos when you're in community. But I still try to do at least one a month. And my goal with the YouTube channel is really to address the things that are complicated. So anything that I feel might be a little bit challenging for an end user, I'll go ahead and do a video to simplify it, right? Just remove the ambiguity and add some clarity into, what you need to do, bottom line, so that they don't have to go read a lot of documentation because, nowadays people just don't have the bandwidth to do a lot of reading. So I will do like a short video. Here's how you address this issue. You saw I did a video a while back on, JSON parsing. Some people, when they hear the two words parse JSON, both of those, you just spoke to me in German, right? So videos like that help people understand, well, why do I want to parse JSON? Whereas the online document just might define it, right? So I'm seeking to give a business scenario behind the why should I use this feature? I don't have a heavy focus on getting subscribers and visitors. If I notice that people aren't watching it, I'll slow down. If I notice they start watching it a lot, I'll speed up. But I don't have a big focus on getting subscribers. I believe that if you want to get subscribers and you want to have a lot of likes, then you need to be consistent, which means that weekly, bi-weekly, whatever your frequency is, it should be consistent to the point people can predict your next video, right? And then ensure that the value is something they care about. And here's a little trick. Anybody can do it. Go to the ideas forum, kind of where we said we could send feedback, and look at what people are asking for. And then ask yourself, can you innovate a way to do that while they're waiting? Because if you can, that's a good option for a video.
I love it. A brilliant tip. How did you get started though on YouTube? Like, what did you start always from an IT side of things, or start somewhere else?
No. My first YouTube channel was, and if you can still find it, it was arts and crafts. I like paper arts. I do greeting cards. I've been published in a couple of creative magazines. I also do calligraphy. And so my first channel, who actually, I think it definitely has more subscribers than my professional channel. And I did like just about every week a video on how to make a card or how to make a journal. So I did bookbinding as well, and had a pretty wide audience across the US because I also sponsored a weekly challenge that covered the US and London and I think some parts of Asia. And that was with a company called Split Coast Stampers. And so they helped me get pretty popular as well. And so that was a lot of fun because that was just fun. My work YouTube channel is really about my passion around helping people do things easily. Like they shouldn't be struggling. I don't want anybody out there frustrated. And so my videos are trying to help people get started, enjoy the journey, have fun, and don't overthink it.
Yeah. I know Purvan Patel, community lead in the Dynamics area, has said that it's one of the key tools that Microsoft is valuing at the moment around community sharing and engaging. Why do you think YouTube is such a good tool for the community?
Well, I think it's because again, we're living in a time of constant change where there's a lot of things revolving around people. So in any given day, they're managing so much information. I go back, so I've been working for 30 years. I go back 10 years, I didn't have to handle 1/3 of what I have to handle in the course of a day today in a week back then, right? And so people don't have a lot of time. So a visual aid, something quick and easy that they can understand is like really appreciated because yes, they could go read the doc and yes, they could figure it out on their own, but wow, does this video save them a lot of time? And so you think of YouTube University, it existed well before the Power App, before the Power Automate, the Power Platform existed. And you can learn fast there, right? And for the most part, if you're not too picky about, your equipment, you can get started there pretty quickly as well. If you have a good microphone and a good camera, go, you don't need a lot to get started.
So what are a few of your tips, particularly for people that say are going to show what they're learning around Power Automate or any of the Power Platform tools? What would you recommend if they're going to set up and get going? If you could condense that into a few ideas, what would you give them?
Yeah, first pick your niche, right? I think there's a lot of people now publishing content around the Power Platform. So, and a couple of things I see missing, just like in parentheses, is I don't see a lot of pro dev content. It'd be nice if somebody could grab that. And then I don't see a lot of content on using APIs that are not out of the box, right? And I definitely don't see anything right now yet on UI flows. So these are all open fields, right? Somebody could grab. But I think the first thing to do is kind of pick your niche. Where are you most comfortable? Because you don't want to have to spend days to prepare your video, right? What do you do easily? Or what is your focus area that you enjoy talking about? Because this will make it fun for you, right? So each week you'll have extra time to talk about the thing you love most. So pick that, right? And then name yourself like around that. And now carry that theme through your videos, right? You look at somebody like John Levesque. I don't know if you know him, but he's done a phenomenal job of branding himself so that now people recognize him. They're looking at his Pacific Northwest passions, his passions around travel. So you kind of see the human in John as well as the content that he's sharing. He's also especially good at leveraging the knowledge of others. And this is something I think everyone should copy. You don't always have to be the person that knows everything. As long as you can get to the person who knows something, then you can put a platform under them, let them talk, right? And just facilitate. I think that's the easiest way to get started.
It's good. It's good. Almost like this podcast.
Simple. Yes, because you're facilitating this information. Yes.
It's good. It's good. Anything else that you would is it you've mentioned those three things. You're not seeing anything on UI flows, pro dev content on YouTube. And what was it around APIs that you were saying?
So you know that we have all of our connectors. I think there's almost 300 now.
275, yes, something like that, right? Yeah.
There's also APIs out there in the world, right? Like there's a whole lot of APIs that connect to stuff. I don't see a lot of people showing him how to use these things that are like exist, right? But they don't have a connector. I did a video just to give an example of how I connected to the ISS. So the International Space Station, I'm tracking that in a Power App. But in order to track that, I had to use the ISS API, right? And so to help people use APIs outside of the platform to do cool things in their apps and their flows.
Yeah, I love it. There's three just low-hanging fruit waiting for people with the skills to actually start producing content. Fantastic. This has been a great episode. Listen, it's anything you want to add before we're going to jump into some quick-fire questions, which they're going to be random topics, these quick-fire questions, more about life than the tech. But is there anything you want to close with before we jump into those?
I guess the only thing I want to make sure everybody knows is that we're here to help. We're here to grow this product. We still have work to do, and we're going to continue to do it. But I think this is the best product to cover the needs of apps, automation, and analytics, hands down. So engage with us, and we'll support you.
I love it. Okay, here we go. Quick fire question time. Would you rather have a cook or a maid?
Cook.
What's your favorite board game?
Monopoly?
Yes. Do you like being the banker?
It makes me think of my mom.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. What's the best hotel you've ever stayed in and why?
It's the Allison Inn and Spa. It's outside of Portland, and it's extremely peaceful and zen, and I think I needed that. So lots of land for walking and flowers and a spa. Yeah, that's the place. Allison Inn and Spa in outside of Portland.
I love it. What's one of your pet peeves?
Okay, selling a product without explaining why I should have it.
Interesting. If you could never work again, how would you spend your time?
Doing what I'm doing today.
Very good. What is something you think everyone should do at least once in their lives?
Step out of your comfort zone. Discover your capabilities, because most of the time we stay within illusionary boundaries, because we can always do way more than what we're doing. It's up to us to let ourselves free to do it.
Audrey, is anyone that you could recommend as a future guest from Microsoft for the podcast?
His name is David Blythe. David is a developer in our team, but he has a very broad view. So he's a coder with a business sense, with a people awareness. He cares. He takes the time to listen and to explain. He's one of my favorite people, David Blythe.
Excellent. Let's see if we can get him on there. I'll get you to do an intro offline. Audrey, it's been so good to have you on the show. I have learned so much myself. I hope, so many of the people in the audience today have found it valuable. Before you go, if people want to follow what you're publishing, etc. online, where can they go?
Start at Twitter. My alias is Artsy, like ARTSY, Power Apper. So Artsy Power Apper. And definitely, if you come into the community, you can just at me. So in other words, while you're typing a post, you can just type the @ and type Audrey-MSFT for Microsoft Full-Time, and I will respond to your community post. It actually comes to my inbox when you do that.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you've not left a rating or feedback on iTunes, please can you do it? Just go to nz365guy.com/iTunes. It'll auto-direct you. I would love to get a 5-star rating from you if you're enjoying and valuing the content of the show. Full show notes can be found at nz365guy.com/156. See you next time.